Traveling once, becoming a scumbag from all over the world, I am too difficult. The male lead, with no specific CP, will marry a wife in the small world. Those who mind, please enter with caution. The first world. Scumbags from special eras, the second world. The scum actor of hidden marriage, the third world. The golden phoenix flying out of the chicken nest. Chapter 1. Adoption. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Third, why don't you raise fourth as your son? This is the first sentence Tang Jingyan heard after entering this body. Tang Jingyan had anticipated and accepted the memory of this body without any panic, perfectly portraying Tang Jingyan in this world. Mom, are you still not my biological mother? Are you calling me foster brother's son? Don't even think about it. Tang Jingyan roared angrily. Mom is all for your own good. If you didn't have a son, how could Mom come up with such an idea? After all, it's still your big brother who's at a disadvantage. With 4 sons, besides giving the second one, there's also you. If you don't have a son, who will take care of you when you get old? Mrs. Wang is indeed the biological mother of Tang Jingyan, but not the current Tang Jingyan. No one could have imagined that in just that moment, Tang Jingyan had changed the core. What's this crazy idea? I'm not going to eat this kind of trick. To be honest, I won't even raise my own child. I can't even raise my own child anymore, so I'll give my eldest brother a son to raise him. I'm not that stupid as the second son, just foolishly raising my eldest son. If I want to raise my own 4 daughters, that's my kind. Tang Jing shouted loudly at the outside. This is quite true. In this era, I can't even support myself anymore. Who is still raising other people's children? Even the son of my elder brother cannot do it. Especially the original body of this body, which is a mediocre person who doesn't do anything. My family relies on my family to make a living. What is taking care of the elderly and sending them away? Not to mention that the original body did not eat this trick, even Tang Jingyan did not eat this trick. Oh my, why are you whispering so loudly? What's the use of a girl's movie? She's just a loser. You, listen to me, take the youngest one first. When the time comes, you will be adopted under your name, and the child will be too young to remember. Shouldn't raising him become your own son? Wang Pezi was earnestly persuading her old son. I think of myself, but I really plan for my third child. This heart, that's true. I really can't be any more serious. Mrs. Wang gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Her children have already started a family, and she is also a grandmother. Now she has to worry about her little son, it's really exhausting. As the old saying goes, the emperor loves his eldest son and the people love his youngest son. This is a true portrayal of the old Tang family. Tang Jingyan was the youngest child that Wang Laozi finally gave birth to after giving birth to 2 sons and 2 daughters. This is the precious egg that Mrs. Wang dotes on the tip of her heart. Can she not be good for her youngest? Just, why are these 3 children so ungrateful? Mrs. Wang, she has suffered losses without a son. A few years ago, I gave birth to 2 girl movies, and I don't know how much anger I had to endure, either openly or secretly. Even her man Wang Laohan would be laughed at if he walked out. Fortunately, she gained momentum behind herself and gave birth to 3 sons in a row, which helped her establish a foothold in the old Tang family. Suddenly raise your eyebrows and exhale. This is Mrs. Wang, who was born in her 30s when her life improved. How could she not do it for the sake of her good heart? In the countryside, if you don't have a son, it's like losing your household. When this little son was born, she was also getting older and her health was not very good. The 3rd child was born like a kitten, sickly and crooked. Chapter 2. Fetal Dream. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's all her fault. Since she had the 3rd child, her health has been improving day by day. Mrs. Wang, I firmly believe that Lao San is a child who comes to repay kindness. It's the third one who transferred her pain to herself. It has to be mentioned that Mrs. Wong had a dream when she was born into her original body. In her dream, Mrs. Wong saw a star in the sky that fell into her belly, and then the third child was born. She never said such a fetal dream except for the old man. Mrs. Wong firmly believes that her third son has great potential and there is a reason behind it. Of course, I dare not say that now. From then on, this little son became her treasure. In this family, no one can think of crossing over her mistress. Whoever gave birth, whoever raised them. I don't have a hobby of raising sons for others. Besides, I'm not incapable of giving birth. Why should I raise someone else's son? I might end up being a white-eyed wolf. Tang Jingyan rolled his eyes and said nonchalantly, learning from his original villainous demeanor. He dares. My son. Just listen to Mom once, and this matter will depend on Mom. Mrs. Wong patted the bed board and said fiercely. I don't want to see my parents every day. Can they still be my son? Don't let me go. When the time comes, I'll be empty-handed. I won't take this loss. Tang Jingyan raised his neck, chin high, and said disdainfully. Also, what else's son? That's your big brother's son, your own nephew. Mom asked the fortune teller and said, your daughter.in.law is just like the second daughter.in.law, who never gave birth to a son. Don't worry, this child belongs to your name and you don't need to take care of it. Mom will take care of it for you. Mrs. Wong has put in a lot of effort for herself, a useless third person. I promise to never let my son get distracted. Mom, what's the current situation outside that you don't know? How dare you find fortune tellers? This is all feudal superstition, do you know? Be careful not to be reported. You're not afraid of any accidents. As soon as Tang Jingning listened to his confused mother, he dared to seek fortune tellers. Does this mean he has lived too long? Looking for death. Now is the time to start making a fuss, and the city is bustling with excitement. It's about to spread to their small village. What's Mom afraid of? What's on the radio? We're just working people, and we're afraid of this little thing. Besides, what Mom's looking for is not from the village. It's all far from our home, and Mom's package is strict, absolutely unrecognizable. Wang Pezi is very proud when it comes to this, but now it's different. It's the world of our poor people. It's better to be my old son. Think of me everything, afraid of me getting into trouble. Can you blame me for leaning towards the third in everything? Mrs. Wong has been favoring Tang Jingyan for quite some time now. Whenever there is something good happening, she will automatically fall for Tang Jingyan. What does it mean that I don't have a son's life? Mom, how did you talk? You must have been deceived. When I find out who cheated you of your money, I'll see if I don't beat him to death. Tang Jingyan waved his fist twice. Oh my son, I dare not say that. That master is very clever. Look at him, he's right. Your second brother just doesn't have a son. Mrs. Wong whispered in fear of being overheard. Chapter 3. Shameless. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright, it doesn't matter what you say. If you think this way, are you willing to take care of my uncle's son? You definitely don't want to. Let me find a way for you, or you can have my sister.in.law become my wife and give birth to a son for me. That's it. I really can't believe that Tang Jingyan would say such shameless things one day. But it's not possible to say that. Mrs. Wong is extremely persistent about the matter of adoption. In her previous life, her original body ultimately failed to withstand the fire and adopted her eldest brother's fourth son. Because of this incident, the Tang family was completely overturned. Big brother and sister.in.law completely turned against their family over this matter. Due to this incident, the entire Tang family eventually split up, and the brothers became enemies. Mrs. Wang and Mr. Tang, due to this matter, cannot live with the boss's family, so they have to live with their original selves, and there will be nothing good left in their lifetime. I was pampered by the Tang family since childhood, so I haven't been to the ground much. Not to mention supporting the family, it turned out that my original wife took on the burden of supporting the family. However, Tang Jingyan's words were extremely devastating. Upon hearing these words, Wang Pezi almost pouted out in one breath. What are you talking nonsense about? You're going to die. Hurry up and keep your mouth shut for me. If you don't raise it, then don't raise it. Get out of here. Mrs. Wang patted her chest and wanted to cry loudly, but she didn't dare. If people hear what Tang Jingyan just said, then this family will be finished. The eldest daughter.in-law is not easy to deal with, and she has given birth to 4 golden grandchildren in a row for the old Tang family. She has been standing steadily in the Tang family for a long time. Even the boss, after hearing these words, it's better to give the third boss a beating. Ah! What are these words being said? Damn it! Although Mrs. Wang has a fondness for the third son, she also knows that she and the old man are getting old and still have to rely on the eldest son's family for retirement. Besides, their village at the foot of the mountain is not a poverty-stricken valley, and there is no such thing as a shared wife. If these words are spread, the entire Tang family will stop being human. If the in-laws don't carry a hoe, they will come over and smash them all. Go, go. By the way, Mom, do you still have money in your hands? I don't have any money anymore. Tang Jingyan muttered, with thick skin and a confident expression, reaching out to ask Mrs. Wang for money. Are you out of money again? Didn't I just give you $1 before? Mrs. Wang looked at her little son in front of her and said, everything is fine, even though I've been spending so much money these days. It's not easy to save some money for those who dig food in the countryside. However, Mrs. Wang was biased towards her younger son and became accustomed to it. Despite feeling heartbroken, she still opened the lock and took out an iron box from the bedside table. Open the box, take out a stack of tickets, spit on your fingers, and count them. After counting 5 cents, he stopped and took out the 5 cents, handing them to Tang Jingyan. Alright, take it. This time, it's a bit tight. If you use it up, there won't be any more. Mrs. Wang always says that, but when Tang Jingyan asks again next time, she can still get the money. However, no one else can think of it. Except for Tang Jingyan, no one can possibly extract money from Mrs. Wang's hands. Thank you, Mom. Mom, when I buy something delicious, I will take good care of you. The original body is a bit good, with a sweet mouth that can coax people. Another point is that the original body has one of the few advantages, which is true filial piety. Mrs. Wang, who often coaxes, is happy. Chapter 4. Plot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Jingyan didn't mind it too much, knowing that he couldn't go too far. He took the money and said a few nice words, then patted his butt and left. Tang Jingyan took the money and then left. Walking on the way to the supply and marketing cooperative, Tang Jingyan recalled the plot and organized his thoughts while walking. Tang Jingyan had already died in his own world. That day was an ordinary day. Tang Jingyan had a series of car accidents on his way to work, killing more than 10 people, and the unlucky Tang Jingyan was one of them. After death, he was bound to a scumbag transformation system and traveled through various small worlds to become various scumbags. Tang Jingyan didn't want to die, so he chose to bind without hesitation. Rounded up like this, it means you're still alive. Tang Jingyan doesn't believe in past and present lives, nor does he believe in reincarnation. If he dies, everything will rest. At least he is still alive now. To be honest, Tang Jingyan is not sure what the system sees in him. I am just an ordinary office worker, almost 30 years old. In Shanghai, where I have been working for many years, I still cannot afford a house. Is it because I have the physique of being a scumbag? But Tang Jingyan dares to be absolutely certain that he is not an excellent young man who emphasizes beauty in all aspects. At least he is also a great young man who loves life and learning. In short, Tang Jingyan believed that his moral standards were quite high. Tang Jingyan himself is not afraid of this system calculating anything against him, he is just a bachelor himself. Simply put, a dead pig is not afraid of boiling water. As long as he can live, Tang Jingyan feels that accepting the task is not difficult. But, I didn't expect it. He is still too young and has too little knowledge. When Tang Jingyan thought of accepting this task, he was really speechless. The publisher of this task is the old lady Wang just now, who made a wish to not abandon her family and children, and ultimately embark on the path of crime. Is the plot simple? It's just a story about a spoiled bastard who was spoiled from a young age. Originally the youngest son of Mrs. Wang, she has been spoiled since childhood. The old Tang family was poor and spent all their savings to marry their first two sons. By the time the original body reached the age of marriage, the Tang family had given birth to several grandchildren, who were already extremely poor. Being spoiled in my original self, I am not good at work. I am lazy, just wandering around in the village. Bai Chang is so big. Who is willing to marry a good girl to such a scoundrel? Not to mention that the old Tang family is still famously poor. After going back and forth like this, the original marriage was dragged down. Mrs. Wang feels guilty. In her eyes, his son is naturally very good. Such a good son, just because there is no money at home, he can't even get married. Such an old man is still single. The kid from the neighboring house who doesn't seem to be a big deal ugly is even younger than her third son. His son can even make soy sauce. Mrs. Wang is heartbroken. With this thought, her heart naturally became even more biased. In her opinion, the entire Tang family was sorry for their youngest son. In the entire Tang family, his son's status must be the highest, and everyone must hold on to his third son. Not only herself, but also the whole family should confess their third child. Eating, the third person should eat the best. Working, naturally there is no third party involved. Her third son, who will have great success in the future, how can he go down to work? Mrs. Wang still has authority in the Tang family. Chapter 5. Plot 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This kind of thing was settled in the Tang family year after year. Under the pressure of Mrs. Wang, the Tang family gradually became accustomed to it. Including later on, the eldest and second daughters of the Tang family both married, and even the eldest and second daughters got married, this fact cannot be changed. Mrs. Wang's brainwashing was very successful. The eldest and second members of the Tang family felt that they were getting married and had spent all their money, and even more so, they felt sorry for themselves. Anyway, there hasn't been much change in my original life, it's still so carefree. It wasn't until later that Ginchen's life began to change when he caught a wife on his own. Fortunately, the third son had a promising future and earned himself a wife for nothing. But this daughter-in-law is not a good one either. Cheap goods are cheap goods, and she has no ability. She can't bear to have a son, not to mention it, and can't win the heart of the third person. She made the third person fall in love with a female educated youth who went to the countryside, and in the end, she ate peanuts. Her third son is gone like this. Although the daughter-in-law in front couldn't bear it, at least she could make her third son live a peaceful life. Of course, all of the above were spoken by Mrs. Wang herself when publishing tasks in the system space. But in Tang Jingyan's memory of the tasks he received, that's completely different. After watching Tang Jingyan, I just want to say one thing, truly worthy of being rated as scumbag by the system. Mrs. Wang is not just bringing her own mother filter for her son. This TM is full-level beauty. I have been spoiled since childhood, selfish, lazy, and lacking a sense of responsibility. The pile after pile of work is not called human resources. He couldn't get married to his wife, not only because his family was poor, but also because he had a good eye for the girls who worked in the village. What kind of white-collar daughter.in.law? The original daughter.in.law was demoted. Originally, my family ran a medical clinic, and my grandfather was an old traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. He was reported and then transferred to this village. The whole family almost died in this disaster, leaving only her and her elderly grandfather. The little girl, as white and tender as flowers and jade, always feels dirty and messy when she arrives in this village. Her original eyes were so sharp that she could tell at a glance that she was a beautiful embryo. In order to obtain this daughter.in.law, he secretly incited the villagers and criticized the reactionary elements in the Cowshed. Make their lives difficult, and then save their own lives as heroes. Marry a wife and make them grateful, and let the young daughter.in.law work hard for him at home. Anyway, I am still a rare scholar from these 10 miles and 8 villages, although I also attended junior high school, and there is still some cunning in this regard. If that's the case, we can still get by. Unfortunately, he was originally a promiscuous and selfish person, and soon met a knowledgeable youth who went to the countryside. Suddenly, the village arrived, and a group of young female educated women in their prime were all in a daze. Isn't there a saying that goes, home flowers are not as fragrant as wild flowers? I was feeling that my wife at home was boring, so I had a chance. Of course, the female educated youth didn't look up to him at first, but after a long time, there was no hope of returning to the city, and the work in the field was tiring. When they met the person who had a little money in his hand, naturally someone was tempted. Someone wanted to hang him, but what a shrewd person he was. Now the master has encountered the master, what a match. Isn't it that the lightning suddenly triggered the earth fire, making it uncontrollable? Chapter 6. Supply and Marketing Cooperatives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although the Tang family is poor, they are strong and hardworking. If they marry their original body, they can at least do less work and have enough to eat. For this reason, some female educated youth who couldn't tolerate the poor life in the countryside sought out local farmers to marry. I also hooked up with a female educated youth, spending all my money on people, and not even managing my wife and children. Coincidentally, my wife had a difficult second child to give birth to, and I had a bad idea in my heart, so I refused to ask for a doctor. The poor little daughter.in.law gave birth to a little boy at all costs. Looking at the little cub left behind, the original body only felt troublesome. Later, this little cub, along with the previous cub Sia, was thrown into the care of Mrs. Wang. I am also carefree and cheerful, and happily married a new wife. From 10 miles and 8 villages, who wouldn't say a word? Tang Lao San is ruthless. As for the old man in the cowshed, listening to his granddaughter's death, his already weak body followed him without coming up in a breath. Now, the original body has completely fulfilled its wish. But no one expected that after a few years, policies would change again, and this female educated youth would turn her back whenever she said she would. In order to return to the city, when the Revolutionary Committee came to investigate, they said they were forced. I happened to encounter severe punishment and set a good example, so I just dropped a peanut. In Tang Jingyan's view, this is a proper scumbag. Fortunately, Tang Jingyan entered early, and now he has only been married for a year. The daughter.in.law has just given birth to a daughter and is still in confinement. The greatest advantage of Tang Jingyan is his great heart. If you own your original body, you naturally have to take responsibility for your original family, including your wife and daughter. Tang Jingyan is not a big deal, he despises him, and his heart is filled with resentment. He felt quite happy when he thought of himself as a useless wife. There's no way, who said when he died, he was still an elderly single young man. My girlfriend, whom I have been dating for 2 years, blew up because he couldn't afford a house in Shanghai. He himself is too lazy to talk anymore, let's fight for it first. Struggling, on the way to work, I fought myself to death. Tang Jingyan couldn't help but think about it. Life is just that. He was quite happy to be picked on by this scumbag's transformation system, thinking at one point that he was some kind of destined son. It turned out that he had thought too much. It was purely because these scumbags were two scumbags that the heavenly way couldn't bear to see through them. That's why he was sent to change the fate of these scumbags. The key is that this system doesn't even have a beginner gift package. There's no preparation at all, throw him over. This is completely different from the novels he has read. Hey! In this era, the conditions are not very good. When it comes to postpartum confinement, there are not many delicious foods to nourish the body. Not to mention, it will soon be busy farming. In Mrs. Wang's eyes, there is nothing else to rest from having a girl. That's necessary. Hurry up and get down to work. The more Tang Jingyan thought about it, the more headache he felt. At this time, it was indeed difficult and the resources were not abundant. He just wanted to give his daughter-in-law something delicious, but there was nowhere to go. Fortunately, within a few steps, we arrived at the supply and marketing cooperative. Anyway, their village at the foot of the mountain is not a poor village. Near the town and by the mountains and rivers, there is also a large area of arable land. Relying on mountains to eat mountains, relying on water to eat water, life can be said very well. Because of this, later in the village, there were also many educated youth who came one after another. As soon as Tang Jingyan stepped into the supply and marketing cooperative, he took a clear look at what was inside. Chapter 7. Supply and Marketing Cooperatives, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Supply and Marketing Society, there is a row of counters at the front, a row of shelves at the back, and in the corner, there is a pile of grain and large vats of soy sauce and vinegar. At the entrance of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, there is also a small blackboard with a price list written on it in chalk. Tang Jingyan first looked inside and found that there were not many things inside, just enamel jars, military green backpacks, iron box cookies, and some clothes. This is not what Tang Jingyan wanted. He turned his head and looked into the glass cabinet. Some pastries, salt, fabric, and so on. Tang Jingyan saw colorful candies and a small bag of brown sugar next to them. He doesn't understand anything else, but Tang Jingyan still knows about brown sugar for nourishing blood. Oh. Jingyan, you're here again. What do you want today? Snakes or candy? At this time, the salesperson of the supply and marketing cooperative had an iron rice bowl and was somewhat arrogant. Being able to make Xiao Lu greet him so warmly shows how familiar Tang Jingyan is with this supply and marketing cooperative. The supply and marketing cooperative is located near the village, and Tang Jingyan is definitely the biggest consumer of these biscuits and the like. I often have some small money in my hand, so I spent it here. How much is this brown sugar? Tang Jingyan placed his hand on the counter and asked. 1 yuan per kilogram, but there's only half a kilogram left. I'll give you half a kilogram and give you 50 cents. Little Lu was surprised. Why did he think of buying brown sugar today? Xiao Lu picked up the weight and weighed it neatly, then turned the high and upturned pole over to show Tang Jingyan. Tang Jingyan pretended to take a glance. Alright, I don't believe you yet. If you have anything good next time, keep some for me. In fact, Tang Jingyan didn't even consider this title. Okay. Don't worry, by the way, has my sister-in-law just given birth? Sigh. Look at my memory. No wonder you want to buy brown sugar. Xiao Lu just tapped his forehead and remembered. You wait, I have something for you. It's already prepared, and you haven't come these days, so I won't be able to go to your village. Xiao Lu took out a package from under the counter and handed it to Tang Jingyan. It should be said that although I didn't get along well with the people in the village, I still had a few sincere friends. For example, this little Lu. And Gao Wei, who took over his father's shift and entered the slaughterhouse. Tang Jingyan felt inferior in this regard. His friends are all colleagues at work and classmates at school. Everyone, who has been saving face, formed a group after work to play games and had a late-night drink together. When it comes to sincere friends, there really isn't one. Thank you then. Tang Jingyan took out the 50 cents that had not yet been covered in heat from his pocket and gave it to Xiao Lu. You're welcome. We're both children now, haven't you both given us gifts? Xiao Lu punched Tang Jingyan on the shoulder. Okay, I'll leave first. Tang Jingyan walked back holding something. Tang Jingyan thought that he was really poor and had no money left on him. Fortunately, the original body can make money, as if money is hidden under the Kong at home. Now it happens to be cheaper than Tang Jingyan. The first thing Tang Jingyan did when he returned home was to pull out the money he had hidden inside and open it. I'll go. This is over 10 yuan. The original body is so powerful. The money in his hands is a huge sum of money these days. The over 100 yuan in Mrs. Wang's hand is all the property of the entire Tang family. Chapter 8. The Underlooked People. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Upon careful recollection, Tang Jingyan realized that his original self was still selling things privately. It's just occasionally getting something on the mountain and selling it to Xiao Gao privately. The Xiao Gao family are all workers with a wide network, and these things are simply in short supply. This original person is a talent. He is definitely someone who has been underestimated by everyone. He has courage, even to the point of death. His family never discovered that he was secretly selling goods. Tang Jingyan collected the box and still put it back. I just looked at Zhongling, the little daughter-in-law sleeping on the Kong, and a baby sleeping soundly in a small swaddle. Tang Jingyan placed the package on the edge of the Kong, took his military kettle, and went to the kitchen with brown sugar. I also touched 2 eggs from the chicken coop. Take out the eggs and gently knock them towards the stove. With such force, the 2 eggs slipped into the large enamel bowl. Pour some brown sugar into the egg bowl and stir the eggs with chopsticks. Then use boiling water from a hot water bottle to gradually pour it into a bowl, stirring it while rinsing, and a bowl of brown sugar egg water is ready. As soon as it was ready, I filled half of it with my own dedicated kettle. Then he divided it into 2 bowls, took 1 bowl first, and stood at the kitchen door. Mom, come on, there is one good thing about the original body, which is filial piety. To be honest, no one in the old Tang family can match him in this aspect. He was thinking about anything delicious and wanted to leave a bite for Mrs. Wang and Mr. Tang. Although he is a real scumbag to his wife Zhongling, his filial piety is also a fact. Otherwise, old lady Wang wouldn't lean towards him to the death. Drink while it's hot. It's very nourishing for the body. Tang Jingyan watched as Mrs. Wang arrived and handed her the bowl in his hand. Oh my, what did I do after drinking such a precious thing? And where did your eggs and brown sugar come from? Damn it, you bought all your money brown sugar. Mrs. Wang looked at the brown sugar and eggshells on the stove, and her heart was throbbing with pain. This child has been squandering money again. What's the use of heartbreak? Drink it quickly. I've spent all the money. Cheng, you drink it first, and I'll take this bowl back to my room to drink. Tang Jingyan took another bowl from the stove. You child, don't give it to your mother next time. Keep this thing for you to nourish yourself. Mrs. Wang quickly picked up the remaining half bag of brown sugar and stuffed it into Tang Jingyan's hand. As for Zhongling, the daughter-in-law during the confinement period, she was naturally overlooked. There are so many people at home, left in the kitchen. After a while, a few little brats will come back. It's strange if they all go to Huohuo. Mrs. Wang took a careful sip, it was so sweet. There is still half a bowl left for the old man to keep. Mrs. Wang carried the remaining half of the bowl and returned to the room. Tang Jingyan returned to his room, but Zhang Ling was still asleep. He placed the bowl of brown sugar water on the low cabinet at the head of the Kong, ensuring that Zhang Ling could reach it with just one hand. Tang Jingyan thought to himself, and now he wanted to go up the mountain and see if he had gained anything from the traps he had left behind. Tang Jingyan never goes to work in the fields. He walks around like this every day, and the whole village is not strange at all. Unfortunately, he has looked at the traps all over and has not gained anything. Just deep in the mountains, I picked a few wild fruits and took 2 bites, which were very sour. Tang Jingyan suddenly felt that this damn thing was too difficult. This is simply hell mode. He is a great young man of the 21st century, and how to survive in this place where birds don't poop is a problem. How else can we carry out scumbag transformation? Do you want to start working on the ground? I can't just stay at home and grow old like my original self. Chapter 9. Cowshed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This is also outrageous. Tang Jingyan walked down the mountain with a disappointed expression on his face. Strolling confidently towards the direction of the cowshed. Why? Because at this time, everyone has gone down to work and won't be able to see until it's dark, so work won't end. Except for the little brats who are playing around wildly, no one has the leisure time to wander outside at the moment. When we arrived near the cowshed, we could smell a smell of feces from afar. In addition, with the high temperature in this big summer, Tang Jingyan almost fainted from the smell. My mother. Tang Jingyan, who grew up in the city since childhood, never saw such battles. Holding his breath, he approached the cowshed. Far away from the gate of the cowshed, I stretched my head and looked inside. There are quite a few people living in this cowshed. At first glance, there are people living on one side and cows on the other, making a clear distinction. The cowshed has actually been cleaned very clean, but with so many cows together, there is always a certain smell. More than 10 cows, just thinking about it makes the taste moving. These days, cows are collective property, and gold is precious. So, the cowshed is still a rare brick and tile house, all of which were scraped from the houses of wealthy families in the past. Sir. Tang Jingyan called out. It has to be said that the original person was quite well hidden. What he did before meeting a female educated youth was really beautiful. Facing the old man in the cowshed, he looked down upon him in his heart, but showed no signs on his face. He greeted him well when he met him. Because of this, the old man's life has been better compared to others, and the assigned work is no longer the most tiring and arduous. Encountering those who questioned his dealings with reactionary elements, his original rogue temperament erupted. Shouting loudly to the speaker, compensating him with a new wife, saying which eye of yours saw me coming and going. What's wrong with me? If possible, I will divorce this daughter. In law. You will marry your daughter to me as your daughter. In law, and I will confess you as my father. In law. The original body played Shameless to the extreme, and with the help of Wang Laopa, a shrew who protects the calf, the speaker caused a lot of trouble. Even his original identity was reported to the Revolutionary Committee, claiming that he had married a capitalist lady, without any false identity. A large group of people have come to the Revolutionary Committee, but what is this place? This is Shansha village. How many families in the village do not have the surname Tang? Many people are useless. I told the little girl from the Revolutionary Committee directly, okay, why don't you come and be my daughter. In law. Then you can take her away today. Coincidentally, I'm also tired of sleeping awkwardly. You look like a big yellow flower girl, and I even made a profit. The original body also said, I don't care about anything else. I'm such a big young man, how can I sleep at night without a mother. In law. You can take it with you, if necessary, leave one for me. On the spot, the fierce and spirited little girl's face turned pale with fear. A group of people fled in chaos. If you want to act recklessly, don't you even see what this place is? The people of the old Tang family usually look honest and straightforward, and when they have something to do, the whole village is full of them. Any few cats and dogs can come to their village and act wild. Besides, with the original rogue spirit, if it's not good, we'll ask them for a wife. Coupled with Mrs. Wang's savage spirit, can they keep up with it? Furthermore, this proves that our village has a high level of ideological consciousness. Even the young capitalists have been influenced, and this is commendable. How can it chill the hearts of our common people? Chapter 10. Old Men Who Know Traditional Chinese Medicine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The most important thing is, isn't this also a solution to life's major issues for singles who can't get married? In short, the original body has achieved the achievement of people dislike dogs. Truly achieved, automatically making people hesitate. No one has nothing to do, go provoke him. Zhang Ruochen, who was cleaning up cow manure in the cowshed, had gray hair. Upon hearing the familiar sound, he turned his head and saw Tang Jingyan, who was far away. Zhang Ruochen put down the shovel, clapped his hands, and walked out. What are you doing here? This is the first time Zhang Ruochen has seen his grandson in law come to this cowshed. Tang Jingyan turned his head and took a deep breath, but it still smelled so bad. Here, Zhongling has just given birth. I went to buy it for her to heal herself, and I also brought you a bowl. Tang Jingyan took the green skin water bottle from his back and handed it to him. I don't need it, the old man is in good health. You can bring it back to Xiaoling to drink. Zhang Ruochen didn't even open it to see what it was, so she pushed back. Xiaoling had just given birth and was about to mend her body. All right, hurry up and drink it. I still need to take this pot back. Don't worry, I've bought a lot. Tang Jingyan unscrewed the lid and forcefully stuffed it into his arms. The stench almost knocked Tang Jingyan out, and he wanted to quickly get away from here. Upon smelling it, Zhang Ruochen knew that it was sugar water with eggs added. Watching Tang Jingyan disdain the appearance of this cowshed, he quickly looked up and drank the sugar water. Tang Jingyan took the empty kettle and casually said, "Come and see you again when you have time." Then he spread his long legs and ran away with a whoosh. Tang Jingyan can't stand this smell anymore, he's almost suffocating if he stays any longer. Zhang Ruochen is still reminiscing, and the person is nowhere to be seen. How sweet. It's been a long time since I drank it. Thinking back, he didn't really enjoy drinking this sweet thing. It's difficult to take a sip now. Brother Ruochen, what is he doing here? Didn't he always run this way? The people living in the cowshed have some background. Everyone knows that Tang Jingyan is Zhang Ruochen's grandson son-in-law, but his reputation is not very good. But reputation is even worse for them, don't blame anyone. He came to give me a sip of water to drink. Zhang Ruochen is old and refined, even when facing these people in the cowshed, he cannot tell the truth. Zhang Ruochen was originally a devoted traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, but he was reported by his apprentice. It was because of her lack of vigilance towards others that she caused her son and daughter-in-law to die tragically, leaving behind only a single seedling of Xiaoling. If he doesn't grow any further, he might as well die early. In everyone's eyes, Zhang Ruochen is an old man who knows traditional Chinese medicine. Nowadays, Western medicine has started to flourish, and traditional Chinese medicine has naturally declined. Except for these people in their cowshed, no one dares to let this old man see a doctor. They are still very grateful to Zhang Ruochen, at least it can make them less sick. Pay attention to nothing, either it's cheating or stealing. Brother Zhang, you still need to guard against him. Although they have all fallen to their current state, theoretically speaking, there is no good plan left. But Tang Jingyan, it's hard to say what his intentions are. I've been married to Zhongling for a year and haven't seen her once. He came here. Who knows, what kind of devilish idea does he have? Well, I know. Zhang Ruochen also felt strange. How could Tang Jingyan suddenly bring him food?